What up, though? This is AM Opinionated, and I'm your host who goes by a plethora of names, monikers, and one appellation. But this morning, just call me Negus the God, right? Uh, man, welcome to AM Opinionated. Hoping your morning is going A-OK, right? If this is your first time listening to an episode of AM Opinionated, welcome. If you rocked me before, welcome back. Uh, Keep in mind, go to my YouTube channel, Notoriously Opinionated. Hit that like button, subscribe. Go to my podcast, Areas of Human Activity on Spotify. Subscribe, Subscribe if you like what you hear, right? Because all I'm trying to do is get all of the information, knowledge, and wisdom that I have up here out there. That's it. I've learned a lot in my life, and I feel like it is my duty uh, to continue to share what I know. So I'm asking you, share if you learn something from anything that I've said, share it with your friends, share my page, because that's all I do. I I talk trash and I educate. That's it. That's what I do. Uh, so make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that like button. Go to Notoriously Opinionated on YouTube. This podcast is actually multi-streaming through YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter Periscope. So check me out on all those platforms. Tell your friends. In this AM episode, I'm going to be discussing briefly the three things that a young man needs to know to become a productive grown man in this society. But my first opinion. Why was Nate Robinson talking all that trash leading up to the fight, knowing he couldn't fight? You know what I'm saying? And more importantly, I told you I was going to be on Nate Robinson. Listen. There's that fight didn't last but about 3.5 minutes, but I'm pretty sure I could find 365 moments within those 3.5 minutes, 3.5 minutes that I can talk about for the rest of the year, that I can talk about for another year, right? For example, why did he talk all that trash leading up to the fight, knowing he couldn't fight? Most importantly, though, this is the point I was trying to get to. This is where I bash myself, right? Because Nate Robinson tricked me. That's why I'm going in on it, right? That's really why I'm going in. If I'm being completely honest, the reason I'm going in on Nate Robinson is because, look, Nate Robinson, you tricked me, bro, right? Like, you for real tricked me. Because I'm thinking, because in the NBA that you would go, that you could go, right? I saw, because he did the same thing in the NBA. But in the NBA, if you throw that first one, that's pretty much the end of the fight. Most fights in the NBA lasted 2 punches and everybody broke you up. So I guess Nate Robinson thought that when he threw that first punch, that the referees was going to come in and break it up, and his teammates, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Was he looking for the rest of the Knicks? Who was he looking for to come? Who was he looking for to come to his aid? Because the Knicks wasn't coming. But the way he fought in the ring is how NBA fights go. You throw that first punch, hit it, miss it, it don't matter. You about to get ejected. Maybe he thought he was gonna get ejected out the ring. I don't know. But Nate Robinson tricked. And that's why I'm really pissed off, because I really thought he was gonna get in there and handle Buddy, and got in there and got. I'm talking about when night. he went night. You know what I'm saying? Like he was resting comfortably too. Like he was on the mat resting comfortably. And that's really why I'm pissed. So the cat's out the bag. That's for real why I'm going in on Nate Robinson, because I'm pissed because he tricked me. I thought he was gonna go in there and handle dude, especially all the trash he was talking. That's so frustrating. I was riding with Nate Robinson. It's just upset. Anywho, so my apologies for for missing yesterday's episode of Aim Opinionated. Some medical things came up that I had to take care of. Not really medical, more well, it's like eye medical. Got to take care of the eyes so a brother can see. Um, so had to go to the eye doctor. Um, but just because I did not report on what happened yesterday in human past doesn't mean that yesterday in human past did not occur. So I'm gonna go to yesterday in human past, and then I'm gonna fast forward to today in human past. Yesterday in human past, uh, on December the 7th, 1885, 74 black people had been reported lynched in that year. In 1885, 74 black people had been lynched. In 2020, because after reading that statistic, it made me wonder, well, because when, despite how people want to look at it, despite all of the back the blue efforts there are, what's going on to black men and black women and black children in this country today is new age lynchings. And the thing is, they're being just as justified today with a shield as they were in 1885 with a sheet. If you wore a sheet in 1885, you was good. You got that off. If you wear a shield today and you kill a black person, you're good. You got that off. Right? They still choking people out in New York City as a tactic. I think, honestly, I don't know this for a fact, but the fact that most officers on the East Coast, especially what I see going on in New York, they first move is the chokehold, right? To get behind them and choke them. You know, I personally know that is a very effective tactic to get people to do what you want them to do. you, I'm I'm short with big arms. So there was a few fights I had to where if I can get behind you and get you in that chokehold, it's a burrito. So yeah, you going night night. It's a wrap. Uh, but that's what I see going on. That is the that's still going on all these years later. So well over a century, and there's just a new form of lynchings of black people, and it's far more legal now than it ever has been. Although I did see something to where they charged the McMichaels for the death of Audrey Arbery. So we'll see what happens with that. I haven't seen anything lately about that. But today in human past, uh, a today in human past, in on December 8th, 1916, the NCAA, NAACP filed a lawsuit to grant equal pay to black teachers as white teachers. At this time, and it was done in Norfolk, Virginia. So at this time, white teachers' pay scale was between uh, what was it, 900, between $960 to $1,900 on the top end. And black teachers and principals, you could be a black principal and still make less than a teacher at the same school, right? So you could be a black, well, back then you wasn't going to be a principal in a school where there was white women, because let's face it, uh, even today there are more white women teachers than anything, right? Uh, like when they would see, when schools, teachers, whatever, would see a black man as an educator or a teacher, they were unicorns. It's like you never see that, you know, but they were always appreciated. So yeah, but black teachers and principals made on the low end about $699, and on the high end about 1,095. You didn't make $1,100. I think you did make 1,100. I think it's like 1,105 now. I think about it. So on the low end, it was $699, $700, up to about 1,100, right? So the high end for being a black teacher was comparable to the low end of being a white teacher. Well, Thurgood Marshall at the time was the national counselor of the NAACP, and he went to the board of education and was talking to him and was trying to negotiate. Well, not really negotiate, but he was trying to see if, because a petition had been filed, the suit had been filed yet, petition had been filed, and when the petition was filed, school board didn't budge. The board of education, I mean, didn't budge, and so they ended up filing the lawsuit. And you see that today, uh, because the lawsuit, or the lack of pay, was basically solely on the grounds of race. So you're holding me back from a higher pay scale because of the color of my skin, because I'm melanated. Yeah. Now, my only thing with that then and now is going into constitutional law. Like, so constitutional law basically, uh in its interpretation, is always, or most times, going to be interpreted as what was the intentions of the founding fathers. Now, the reason why that's so important is because you have to realize that during the day of the founding fathers was the founding fathers of a racist society. You know, a society that had no intentions of giving any sort of equality to black people. That being the case, if you have no intentions of giving equality to black people, to go to the Constitution, which is what you go to in legal cases, to go to this Constitution as far as how, what black people are concerned about, and thinking you're going to find justice, is like being corn and thinking you about to find some justice in a courtroom of chickens. It ain't about to happen. You about to get ate up, for real. Like, you black person and you corn. It's just not gonna happen. Uh so that is what happened yesterday and today in human past. And again, the reason that I say human past instead of history is because a lot of times history is not accurately conveyed when it comes to that of melanated people. So a lot of the history writers will take certain liberties with history and inflate uh, their importance and deflate our importance. So that's why I say human past, because all of um, all of American and world history uh, does not always accurately transcribe into an accurate depiction of human past. So that's why I go there. All right. So, what are the three things, or what are the three lessons that a young person, black, white, Haitian, Asian, Native American, Latino, what do y'all need to know to become positive and productive grown men? First of all, and this isn't really a one, but my opinion is that you just you can't continue to be a boy in a big body. That's what I see a lot of so-called men uh, displaying. They're just boys in big bodies. They're not necessarily men. They don't do the things that men do, right? Men do things that boys do not. Men do things that boys have grown out of. But uh, you have to invest. As adults, we have to invest in these kids. We have to invest in these children. We have to invest in our black boys. We have to invest in our melanated boys. We have to invest in our boys, period, because I'm gonna tell you, the there's a lot of young men that I've worked with over these last few years, and they not cut the same way that uh, boys in my era were cut. You know, it's like I mean, I used to hear Bernie Mac say it all the time. They soft, 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 and that's just it's sad. It's like I know I've always been hyper competitive, you know, but I had to ask my mama. I'm like, mama, when I was little, like between we'll say 6 and 11, right? Oh, I know not 11. So we'll say between 6 and 9, right? When I would do things, when I would play things, when I would lose, when I would deal with other children, you know, what was my behavior? How did I act? I don't really remember. And like was I a big crybaby, you know, things like that. She was like, you was pretty much done with all that crybaby stuff by the time you was 4 or 5, you know. Uh you was done with it. You were competitive, but crybaby. Mm. So now, here's the thing: for a young, for a boy to develop certain things, first thing you gotta do is see it. You know, so who is he looking towards? Cannot look towards a woman to see what it's like to be a man. No, no knock on any other single mothers out there. You know, y'all are doing a fantastic job, or you're doing the best job that you can. You know, but you just can't replace that. I'm not saying it has to be your father. Doesn't have to be your father necessarily. It's best, in my opinion, if this lesson or these lessons that the young boy has to adhere to come from a father, but it could be a grandfather, you know, like my dad was away, you know, my dad was locked up. So like early in my life. Uh so who did I look to? I looked to my grandfather, you know. My grandfather was right there, and my grandfather was an excellent example of what a real man is supposed to be, things that a real man is are supposed to do, you know. So uh, one of the main one of the main things that I learned from my grandpa by watching him is that uh, silence speaks volumes. Like my grandfather was a man of few words, but when he did say something, it was powerful, you know. Uh, and I took to listening to a lot of things he said because listening opens up the way to knowledge, you know. And uh and here's how you get there, because when you're not talking, you're supposed to be listening. Listening opens up the way to learning. Learning, you develop knowledge. Knowledge is power, and power fuels everything. Power meaning energy, you know. And without energy, everything you think is real is an illusion. So that's what I learned from my grandfather. That's what I learned by watching him. That's why I open doors for women. That's why I'm courteous. You know, all these things I learned from watching my grandfather because I saw my grandfather do it. So I can see it. If I see it, I can believe it. Right? Which goes to the next thing. They got to believe that what they're seeing out of you is genuine realness, right? Not a game, not a facade. Like this is the real you. I saw my grandfather every day, you know, and this was just the real him. You know, my grandfather was very respectful. My father taught me. My father taught me that next level of respect, but I learned my foundations of respect from my grandfather. You know, uh, watching my grandfather go to work every day religiously, you know, watching him or remembering him interacting with me. He tried to teach me about cars and motors. He was trying to teach me all this stuff when I was like 6. I'm a kid, and he got me all on the hood of a Cadillac, looking inside, telling me, okay, well, this is the carburetor, this is the distributor, this is the this, and this is the that, you know. So he gave me time, you know. He gave me his time, and I believe that the man that I was seeing was exactly who he was portraying, right? It wasn't a front, it wasn't a facade. So after you see it and you believe it, you know, now you want to be it. So I started working. Actually, I lied about my age so I could get this job. And I started working when I was 13 years old, violating all kind of labor laws. I didn't know about them, but at the same time, I didn't care. It's like I heard about child labor laws. I didn't know what they meant at 13. I was like, man, are y'all gonna pay me for this? I need to get paid. Am I gonna get a paycheck? Yes. We good. Yeah, I'm 16. Back then, in-house did not ask. They didn't do a real thorough, a real thorough check of birth. It's not like I was like some like my little Uncle Herb. He was 6 foot. This dude was 12 years old, 6 foot. I wasn't that. I looked like when I was 13, I looked 13. It wasn't no, oh, he's 13. He looks like he about 16, 17. No, he didn't. I did not look like no, I looked 13. For real, I was 12. I was I was 13. I looked 11. Uh, but once that child sees it and believes it and wants to be it, you know, therein lies the things that I'm not even saying that these are all the things. These are just three of them. It actually goes far more in depth. But this is a conversation I'm going to have on Notoriously Opinionated when I got my guest. This is one of the questions I'm going to ask. But just to give you a synopsis of it, uh, like a brief little snippet, you know, because our young boys vanishing. I saw a documentary called "The Vanishing of the Black Male," right? And a lot of our boys are vanishing uh, to the grave or to a prison cell, right? And nobody's batting an eye. And while there are people who are trying to do something about it, there need to be protests about that. We need to start educating our young people, young men and young women, you know, and get them to understand. Study the law. Study the law. You know, I didn't study the law and become a paralegal uh, to actually become a paralegal. That was never my intention. My intention for studying the law is so that I could um, a no one understand my rights, because a lot of these things, most of the things uh, that are of the utmost importance are written in books in a way to where the average individual cannot understand what they're reading, right? Cannot. I don't mean can't read the words. You can read the words, you're not going to comprehend the meaning. So it doesn't matter if you can read the words if you can't comprehend what it is that you're reading. Uh, look up on Google the flesh index, FLESCH, I believe it's spelled. Not flesh like flesh and blood, but it's a last name, but it's the flesh index. And it is basically, what is your reading comprehension? It it it's it scales your reading comprehension, because there are certain things that are written at at a level to where you can read it and understand it. But the real important things, are written to where only a few people can comprehend it and understand it to be able to interpret it. And it was done like that on purpose. That wasn't an accident. If you read at a, if you, most people, like your average individuals, will read at about an 18 on the flesh index, right? That's about average. Uh, you graduated from high school, you're going to read at about a 18 on the flesh index. Uh, law school graduates will read at about a maximum of maybe 32 to 35 if you were at the top of your class on the flesh index. A lot of the things that I'm talking about, a lot of the documents and paperwork that I'm talking about is written on a 53 or higher. It's not very many people that can read and comprehend that high on the flesh index. It's just not. Tax code is written at like an 80 something. Tax code is written at like an 80 something on the flesh index, which is why you look at that and it looks Greek to you. It's like, hold on, this is English. Why can I not understand what it is this is saying? Because you were never meant to. It was never meant for you to understand, right? Um, because knowledge is power. And if I can put the knowledge out there for you to read and never be able to comprehend it, I still got the power. All right. Uh so I'm gonna wrap right there. Thank you for listening this morning to AM Opinionated. Tune in to Facebook each morning. For the next 2 weeks, it'll be at 8 a.m. instead of 8:30. Tune in to AM Opinionated every morning at 8 a.m. Do not forget to tune in to Notoriously Opinionated tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. with me, my guy, Negus Kifaru, aka Hero. We got some good guests for y'all tomorrow, and it's gonna be a really good show. I'm anticipating this. This is gonna be good. What me and these guys is gonna get into? Yes, with the panel that I got. Oh man, it's gonna be lit. So tune in tomorrow night at 8:30 for Notoriously Opinionated. Uh, Go to my Spotify, check out Areas of Human Activity. I got a lot of episodes on there now. And I'm gonna start recording uh on the audio podcast every Sunday. So bright and early Monday morning, you'll be able to listen to Areas of Human Activity on Spotify. Uh Support small and black businesses, patronize them. You know, they need all the help they can get, especially now a in a coronavirus era. Small and black businesses need all the help they can get. Remember, seize the moment. You might not make it through the whole day, you know. And it's been your man, Goose the God. Peace.